And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Out to California, our great friend Melanie Morgan joining us from Media Equalizer. Melanie, good to have you with us.
Hey, thanks so much, Kevin. It's great to be home again in California after a wild week in Washington.
Boy, we just had your friend Megan Barth on. She gives you hellos.
Oh, that's great. I'll tell you what, the last few days have just been some of the most amazing and historic efforts that I've ever been involved in as a conservative activist. We went to Washington with the victims of sexual harassment by former President William Jefferson Clinton, Juanita Broderick, as well as Kathleen Willey and Leslie Milwee, who is a young 19-year-old reporter at Fort Smith, Arkansas, when the governor assaulted her 3 times. Her story only became public a year ago. She was emboldened by the courage of the women who went before her, and she was finally ready to share the details. And the reason, of course, we went to Washington was to demand the resignation of Al Franken and John Conyers. We also wanted the release of all the names of the lawmakers who used that hush fund of $17 million of taxpayer dollars, and now it looks like we may get that. We just learned this morning that Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn has introduced a piece of legislation demanding that the names of the lawmakers who use this hush fund be made public. It's called the Congressional Accountability and Hush Fund Elimination Act. It requires full disclosure within 30 days if anybody uses government money for this sort of nefarious purpose.
The pride of Mississippi State, Congresswoman Blackburn. What do you and look, here's Melanie where I'm going to go. I'm going to ask you to go where I can't. The whole sexual harassment assault issue from your perspective as a moral conservative, as a champion of morality and all that's good in the era of Matt Lauer, Al Franken, and John Conyers.
Well, I have to say that I have been in the media for over 40 years now. And that none of this was a secret. I mean, it's been going on for years and years, but it finally took somebody like Ronan Farrow, a young man with really very little journalistic background, until he went to work for NBC and bravely reported on the story of Rose McGowan. And with the Hollywood connection, I think it finally shattered this whole fabrication, this whole lie that has been told to the American people by some of the abusers themselves, like Matt Lauer, like Garrison Keillor, and many of these others, prominent liberal men who have been denouncing President Trump over allegations that have never been verified, and then go on to admit that they were, in fact, involved in the same behavior they were accusing him of. I mean, the stunning hypocrisy of all of this is what really continues to amaze me on a daily basis. Matt Lauer's story is very disturbing at a lot of levels. It makes me wonder, there was a secret button that he had in his room, his office, according to the Variety reports that have just rocked the world. And when an unsuspecting female staffer would come in, he would click that button shut, demand sex or take sex, depending on whose version you believe. And they were literally locked in with a monster. I mean, I just find this absolutely appalling. And I hope that there are criminal charges brought against this guy.
Well, one of the things I don't really get is this, the psychology of Matt Lauer that would, interview Anne Hathaway, would joke with Katie Couric, would run around in promos with his underwear, and then have the audacity to be this champion of women and go after Bill O'Reilly. Psychologically, I don't understand what makes this guy tick.
Well, it kind of reminds me of a lot of what I've seen from liberals right now. The people who have attacked me over my story involving Al Franken and who have attacked Juanita Broderick, I mean, literally slandered the woman who harassed and stalked Kathleen Willey, and Leslie Milwee, who has told the shocking story of 3 sexual assaults of Bill Clinton. These liberal Democrats hide behind what I call projection. They're accusing others of what they themselves are guilty of. I think that's the psychological way of looking at it. But it's really, really disturbing. And it's very difficult for women to come forward with these stories. To this day, there are probably a lot more women who are going to find strength in numbers that are going to come out against Senator Frankengroper. I think the guy, I can't believe it's Friday and he's still there. I can't believe that this Friday, John Captain Underpants Conyers is still a member of the United States Congress. I understand he is hospitalized with stress-related issues because of the fact that he got caught and that the slush funds were made public. But really, it's way past time for him to go. And in a rare moment of bipartisanship, we have Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi, for goodness sakes, actually on the same page.
Well, and then you have it was either the spokesperson or the chief of staff from Conyers blasting Nancy Pelosi yesterday, Melanie, saying she won't determine the representative's future. It'll be the voters. And it just seemed very insensitive and out of step.
Oh, you want to bet? I think it is going to be Nancy Pelosi who forces him to go, because you know why? Nancy Pelosi is the one who is the gatekeeper to all the financing, to the favors that are owed for fundraisers. She's the one who doles out the dough. And when John Conyers finds himself cut off from the money stream from the Democratic Party, he will suddenly find his way clear to a resignation. I predict it's going to come sometime next week.
Wow. Melanie, let's go back to your work with Media Equalizer, and we are one-on-ones with Juanita Broaddrick, and again, a champion of talk radio for many, many years. We've talked about your work in the Bay Area, your friendship with Sean Hannity, your work for the military. Going back, your old school with Juanita Broaddrick and Paula Jones and the Clinton scandals, how has that scandal impacted how we treat young ladies, women, females today, ma'am?
That's a great question. I think that we are starting this national conversation, really. The reason why we brought Juanita and Leslie and Kathleen to Washington, D.C., the Media Equality Project paid for all of their expenses to get there, even though we're a small grassroots organization. We felt it was important to look to the past to help us define the future. We never really moved through and processed what happened with the sexual allegations involving Bill Clinton. The liberals so quickly circled the wagons to keep him in power and to keep themselves in power that we never got to have that real conversation about how do we treat women. And my answer has always been simply, we treat women like if you're a guy and you're confused, and I've talked to a lot of guys right now. Well, I'm not even sure I know how to date anymore in this environment. And my answer is simply this: don't do anything with a woman that would embarrass your mother or your sister or your daughter. I mean, that's really all you have to know. It's okay to have a special and different kind of warm or interesting or sexy experience with women as long as it's okay with them. I mean, it's just common sense, I think. And we're not as a nation or as an organization trying to hold out and point out imperfect men. We just want them to have perfectly appropriate responses to the answer no.
Our great friend Melanie Morgan joining us here as we continue on from Media Equalizer. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. You go back to Juanita Broaddrick and how she was attacked and just all the pain and suffering that she's been through. What type of person is she? What type of person is Kathleen Willey? What type of person are these women, Melanie?
Boy, that is such a great question because, getting to know these three women, I feel like we've been forged in fire in the last 3 days, and I will be their battle buddy for the rest of their lives. I will do whatever I can to aid them and assist them in any way, but they are the strongest, bravest, and kindest people I have ever met in my life. My life is different for knowing these women. I wanted to get a chance to know Paula Jones, but unfortunately she wasn't able to make it to Washington. But Juanita Broaddrick is so intelligent and so adaptable. She has learned that there is a message that she can share with the rest of the country. And even though it took her many, many years to come out publicly, and she did so reluctantly, and it was only because Lisa Myers of NBC got a hold of her story and really talked her kind of into it. Now she says she is so glad that she's able to have this conversation And so Kathleen Willey was terrorized and harassed and stalked by a private investigator hired by Hillary Clinton. How do I know that? I talked to the private investigator in 1999, and he confirmed that he was hired by Hillary Clinton. He says his only regret was that he didn't get paid by her for the work that he did to kidnap her cat or injure her cat. There were all kinds of crazy things that happened, hiding underneath Kathleen Willey's deck. It was all designed to intimidate and frighten her. But yet these women found the strength to come forward, and they came forward this week so that the whole country could know that it's not just their cases. It's all of women. We're looking at entertainment, media. We're looking also at the cashier at the gas station down the street, and that's where this conversation really needs to blow up. It needs to happen not just because of these congressional leaders who are using hush slush funds, which is abominable, but we have to have it in everyday life, too.
Melanie Morgan joining us here as we continue on KIDO Talk Radio. How do you see the movements by selective liberal groups and people on MSNBC like Joe and Mika to question the president's mental fitness for office and this billionaire that's funding this Impeach Now effort?
Well, here's the thing. With Joe Scarborough, he hit back because I think President Trump's tweet hit a little close to the bone. There are a lot of skeletons in Joe Scarborough's closet, and somebody's going to open that door, and those skeletons are going to come rattling out. And I think that was an offensive broadside. So a sort of a warning, don't you go there. But people are going there, and people do know stuff about Joe. And I think that Mika might want to reconsider the man that she's going to marry. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But I will say that, the liberals go after and target people and try to tear down our credibility when we come forward with these stories, which is so ironic because this is the party of the feminists. This is also the party of Gloria Steinem, chief feminist in this country, who in 1998 wrote an article during the impeachment proceedings of Bill Clinton that basically said all men should be given one free grope if they are on the right side of liberal policies.
Ouch.
Yeah, that one stung. It stung in 98, and it still stings today. Bunch of freaking hypocrites.
Finally, can we stop some of your people from coming in here? So many people from California are moving into Idaho. I'm getting scared.
Well, be careful, Kevin. I might be your next door neighbor pretty soon after the case. Finally. Oh my God. I really am on my last nerve with this. That verdict yesterday was so stunning and so upsetting. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was on the air as a reporter and an anchor woman when that murder occurred, and it just devastated me yesterday as I was landing to look at the headline to find out that they had acquitted this man. Only in San Francisco could this happen, and only could the public prosecutor or the public defender in this case blame President Trump for the outcome. It was unbelievable.
Melanie, we appreciate it. By the way, you'll love this. I live in the smallest town in Ada County here in Idaho. I have two of my neighbors that surround me are from California. So you're welcome in our neighborhood.
There might be a third.
You're welcome in our neighborhood, ma'am. You take care.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Go to Stop the Scalpings, folks, and give us a little support there because we are an activist group and we are determined to take action.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Kevin. Bye.
Bye-bye. Our great friend Melanie Morgan. Let's go to Jim in Boise with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Kevin. Yeah, I came here from the San Francisco Bay Area in 1984. I lived in Alameda. I've never considered myself a Californian. I'm from New Mexico. However, when you keep bringing this up, I keep thinking I'll call in and express my opinion. I don't think 100% of the people moving here are from California, and this is my feeling on the registration. Now, wherever I, have done the registration on the car, I have paid for a certain amount of time for my car. So, in which state my car is registered or in which state I reside, to me, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, when my registration runs out, then I will register it here.
Well, how much longer do you got on that one?
Well, I mean, that's been 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But if I register the car, you know, and I mean, me personally, I just don't see I'm going to run right down and re-register it. I mean, I'm going to, you know, 2-3 years, whatever. But
I disagree. I've lived in a bunch of states, and I got to tell you that as soon as I get to a state, I obey the rules, and I register my car. I pay the vehicle registration. I get my plates because it shows a commitment to that state.
Well, I mean, how many people these days like to pay taxes? You know, let's face it. I mean, no, nobody really likes to pay taxes, and it's kind of like back in maybe the 70s or 80s. People would say, buy American, which meant be patriotic, I guess, and support workers here. But then they'd buy a Japanese car. So when it comes down to your pocketbook, that's the important thing.
Okay, let me give you another one. Buy a Japanese car, you got the Japanese building cars here, and you got the Americans building them in Mexico.
True. Of course, that wasn't... Well, that's what put Detroit out of business in the 70s. But, I mean, that was before the Japanese came here, et cetera. I mean, that's when they were imported, you know, so things have changed since then. But... And I'll make a comment on the current what you were talking about with the lady there. You know,
Melanie.
Melanie. Yeah, about how things have changed in 25 years. You know, and I remember, you know, Clinton and the stuff Clinton was doing. I couldn't stand the Clintons, and at the time, people didn't give a darn. You know. It was kind of like whatever a guy did in his private life was up to him.
I remember.
That's what they said. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm sure they weren't all left-wing Democrats. There were moderates. They were whoever voted for the Clintons. They really didn't care. And now how the worm has turned.
And we'll leave the worm at that. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you much. Bye-bye.
We appreciate you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And taking your calls about the issues that matter to you, Treasure Valley. Let's go to Tea Party Bob, publisher of the Gem State Patriot at KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today?
I am consistent.
Certainly are. You've been very consistent all week. You know, what a tragedy that we have to start each day off with a continued exposure of the smut and horrific tales of sexual aggression by these supposed pillars of the community and officials like Conyers who have been elected time after time. Even after we know about these sexual exploits, they would probably elect this guy again. You know, do you actually think the people of this country might finally understand that you need to know who you're voting for, and you need to know what and who you're watching on TV?
Hello?
That's your cue.
You're fading a little.
Am I fading now?
Kind of.
You know, now we have this liberal, misguided billionaire, Tom Steyer, targeting President Trump with commercials of impeachment.
He might be targeting you next.
Well, that doesn't bother me. He's just a billionaire.
All right.
You know, isn't it time to say enough is enough and vote these people out of office, turn off the programs that are hosted by the left-wing hacks and people who are trying as hard as they can to turn this country upside down? Now, I think you're going to see a movement in 2018 elections. The people are really tired of what's been going on, and maybe we can rid ourselves of the swamp dwellers in Washington and vote in some conservative legislatures. That will actually help return this country to the hands of the people, because the way we're going, it's not going to be survivable. And I think that the lefties are on their last legs, because each and every day we find out more about them, that they're the ones who are the problem and not the people on the right.
Fair enough. Tea Party Bob, thank you.
Take care.
All right, traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. More of your phone calls coming up. We go to Ronnie in Caldwell with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Ronnie.
Hey, dude, TGIR, what's up, man?
Just living the dream.
And, hey, you know, this whole thing with the sexual assaults and all that, you know, he's coming on to me. I've got an idea. I think ever since that movie 50 Shades of Grey came out, I think guys are all confused and don't know what to do.
What was that movie again? 50 Shades of what?
Of Grey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a movie about some pretty wild stuff, dude. And it crosses the line in a lot of areas. But see, here's the thing.
I've never heard of it, so I don't know. I don't really travel in those circles.
Yeah, you're not really up to speed on the social stuff like that, dude. You need to get more in line with that.
Okay.
Mr. Political.
So 50 Shades of Grey, okay.
Shades of Grey. Your wife's probably seen it. So I'm just saying, you know, it gets us guys confused, the guys that don't really know how the ladies want to be treated. Guys like me, we got it figured out, but the rest of them, it makes you do stupid things, I think. It's got some subliminal messages in there, too.
Fair
just
enough.
trying to get everybody up to speed.
Thank you for the insights, and thank you, Roger Ebert, for that.
And I've got two more things. One, you're talking about traffic on State Street, and you were all whining about that. Here's the thing, Millie. A lot of people don't realize that there's a thing on the right side of where their foot goes. It's called a gas pedal. And if they just put their foot into that thing and put the phone down, things would be a whole lot better there, dude. I just hope that helps your commute.
Well, and thank you. A movie review and traffic tips on a Friday. We're so blessed.
And always turn, you know, if the arrow's red and there's nobody there, just turn anyways. And if it's left and there's nobody, just turn. I mean, you don't have to sit there waiting for nobody. I mean, what's the point in that?
Well, I follow the rules. You're right.
I know. You're consistent, but I'm not. And I can't find that button, that Matt Lauer button. If you can check that out and get me that button, I just want to have it just to say I've got one.
Well, it's right next to the camera that you use to stalk people while they're watching TV.
You're going to bring that up, huh?
I don't know what you're talking
Here we
about.
go again. Oh, you don't know?
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug. And don't forget, coming up, but tonight, we will be at Eagle Christian Church for the Idaho Chooses Life banquet. Looking forward to, once again, being out there with our friends, the Ripleys, the incredible Mr. Ripley. David Ripley will be there, along with Ron Crane, along with all the candidates for major office that care about the life issue. We certainly look forward to hearing from them and hearing what they have to say, but it's really just about a community when we're talking about Idaho Chooses Life. I'm very excited to be there, very excited to, once again, be a small part of the festivities and seeing our people that are putting it on the line. That's at Eagle Christian Church. The event kicks off at 6:30, but I think doors open at 5:30 or 6. The spaghetti's great. The salad's great. It's pasta and fiber. What a great way to spend the evening. So I hope you join us this weekend. By the way, details at idahochooseslife.org. We go to Tanya J. Powers, and then more of your phone calls next at KIDO Talk Radio. She's live from New York at Fox News Radio. Tanya, good morning.
Good morning.
Before we get to this hoity-falutin study from the Harvard of the South, Vanderbilt, I must ask you a question here. You've been on job interviews, right?
Yes.
You know, you've
I mean, not recently, but yeah.
Sure. You don't want to reveal too much. I get it. But, you know, the situation going on at the University of Tennessee, and this is not even a story about sports. It's how not to hire the right person. We've talked a little bit about this before, about, you know, there was a coach, there were some allegations unproven against him, and it goes back and forth, but the social media kind of rode a wave that allowed this coach not to get hired at the University of Tennessee. Now it looks like the guy who was in charge of this, the athletic director, John Curry, has been fired, and now they're looking for another coach. Like 6 people have turned them down. But how not to run a job interview, I guess, is what's coming out of UT.
Yeah, this has just been, it's been quite the week for the University of Tennessee. I mean, just the fact that, you know, the Schiano stuff was first, and then, of course, you had, you know, like I said, the breaking news today that their athletic director has now been let go. I mean, it's quite, you know, shocking, I guess, puzzling. I'm not really sure what the word is.
I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like it. I was hoping, looks like Washington State head coach Mike Leach might be there, but I was hoping the return of Lane Kiffin. But I'm going to get a phone call here from Jeff the Suit in a minute because I digress because he always says, where do you live? And he's right about that. So enough about the SEC and the Southeastern Conference and Lane Kiffin and all those things. We're going to go
Who
to
am I to argue with Jeff the Suit? I mean, I can't,
Never works out for me when I argue with Jeff the Suit, I'll tell you that.
I would imagine it usually doesn't for most people.
He said he had a few words for you, but I've been protecting you because that's what a good friend does. Is I protect you from friends like.
Oh,
Jeff
that's
the Suit.
really sweet. Tell him to give me a call.
Wow. Well, I know Liberal
No,
Steve.
I'm serious. I always welcome feedback from our stations.
I know Liberal Steve wants to give you a call. Is that the same thing?
Has he got feedback for the show? I mean,
I don't want to cross a line here. We're living in
probably a good idea. Yeah.
We're living in the Matt Conyers, John Lauer world. But anyway, you know what I'm saying, Congressman Conyers and Matt Lauer world. So I'm not even going to get close to a line anymore.
That's probably a good idea.
It is. So it's Friday. It's a fun day. We have a study that says cats are not as smart as dogs, or dogs are actually smarter than cats.
Yeah, this is, if the world wasn't divided enough as it is, now we've got this to add to the mix. The new study, which is from, as you mentioned, Vanderbilt, they worked with an international team of scientists at zoos and universities, and, they really got into this, and apparently they were counting these neurons in 8 different types of animals' brains. And without getting too deep in the weeds with the science terms, these neurons, the cells, are linked to thinking, planning, and complex behavior. And so they were looking at the number of these neurons in these 8 kind of animals, and they found that dogs have about 530 million of these neurons. Cats have about 250 million. Hence the argument that, dogs are smarter than cats.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go back to the SEC talk.
Are you worried about the cat people staging some sort of a protest over this, or? No,
I just having trouble just comprehending the word neuron, actually. But
see, that's why I didn't want to get too sciencey with it. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
I love everybody.
Okay. That is really not the answer that I expected. I'll just be honest.
And what answer were you expecting?
Well, I mean, most people will have pick a side basically and say, oh, I like cats more than dogs, or I have.
What type of person do you think I am? You think I'm a cat person?
Oh no, I'm not falling into this. But I will say that usually when I guess, I am right on that.
Well, you're not guessing. Everything. You're not guessing.
No, I'm not. You're right. I'm not guessing, because if I get it wrong, then that doesn't.
You put a lot of pressure on yourself.
I really did. That's on me. Anyway, dogs are smarter than cats, according to Vanderbilt.
Well, you heard it here first from our political expert and news authority, Tanya J. Powers.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, our great friend Tanya J. Powers, Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Cindy in Caldwell with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Cindy.
Well, good morning, Kevin. And I would just like to say, in response to your dog and cat deal first, that you, Kevin, have a lot of neurons. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. Creator God did make dogs. He did make cats. And in another way, I did not come from some animal like a monkey, but he gave you wonderful neurons that I can tell your synapse beautifully. And I would just like to speak to words. I liked what the gentleman from Mountain Home, just the real deal, had to say. And yes, he used words which don't disturb me at all. Look them up in the dictionary. He said freaking and frickin'. And you can look both of those words up. You also can look up the word karma. And I don't believe, according to Liberal Steve, that I'm going to come back again. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not a Hindu. I'm not just saying that. I'm not any of those. And I don't believe in reincarnation. And I'm just tragically sorry that it really annoys me when people do just throw another word out. They will pick on someone else because of their use. And, guys talk like that. Some women do. I don't have any problem with your Mountain Home gentleman. I thought he was spot on in every comment that he said. That decision on Juan, if you look up the word killer, he killed someone. It doesn't surprise me in San Francisco that the gun did it, not the killer did it. Killing means it deprives someone of their life. Whether it be tonight, I'm going to a banquet that purports life. There are others out there that think it's not important at all, that although you have a beating heart at 3 weeks old, that you can kill a baby in that, or a fetus, or life. Later on, if you looked at the study of human life, and you could see, like your friend Tanya talked about, when your brain is developed with all those neurons and things, it's absolutely fascinating. So I'm as outraged, but not surprising in San Francisco. You couldn't pay me $1 million to go to that city. My daughter's friend went there, went to a theater and sat on a needle and has been tracking hepatitis ever since, if she has it or not. So would it surprise you in this day of people that more work, like that despicable billionaire talking about our president as a nurse who's worked with people with cognitive impairment? He's not even saying it in a way that you'd have someone in your family with dementia or Alzheimer's or the spectrum of disorders. No. Instead of feeling bad, if he really did think like Ronald Reagan, there was a Chinese, I can't forget the person, when it was discovered that Ronald Reagan was having some memory impairment, that was compassionate. I think it's despicable, but as the prince of this world is still on the move, that is the accuser, who will just be as wicked as he can.
Sure.
That it doesn't surprise me, but you know what? You're not coming back again, Liberal Steve. I don't believe in karma. You will have one chance from your Alpha and Omega on Earth, and then you too, sir, will be judged. So
right.
I'm going tonight to speak to life. And those people in San Francisco, they also have to live with themselves. The gun didn't just kill that young woman. It was a person that deprived the life of a soul that was, and a spirit. That's
right.
What goes to heaven.
Cindy,
So,
great points. We'll see you tonight.
I will see you tonight. Kevin's Proclaiming Life. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We continue on. Let's go to Barb in Sunny Slope with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Barb.
Good morning. Isn't it a great day? Great day. Listen, if anybody would like to see some wonderful videos of Ammon being released yesterday, John Lamb like the animal, John Lamb, on Facebook has, it's an open Facebook, you don't have to belong to his site, has some wonderful videos of the family being reunited and just the joy that is there. But just as a reminder that, just because he is out for now does not mean that this is over. They still are fighting or trying to pay off tremendous bills from Oregon, and they still have tremendous bills to go here in funding for defense here. So if anybody is willing and listening and would be willing to go to bundydefense.com and read about the case, there is also a video there that would tell people about it if they don't know about it. But they could contribute. I don't care as much as, $10 or.
Gee, I thought we were having a show about, the topics on the radio.
The topics on the radio. Well, I didn't
know it was another. And people are welcome to say what they want, but a lot of people are tuning in and going, "Is this the infomercial for Barb from Sunny Slope?"
Yeah, it probably is. I just wanted to get that out there. And frankly, I'm tired of talking about all these sexual jaunts that are going on throughout the U.S. Oh, it's just, really wearing.
Well,
it really is.
As you and I have talked about off the air, and I know they're very busy, but, thanks to you and others, we've had Angie Bundy on, and we'd love to have those guys come on when they're available.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'll reach out again. I was happy to hear you get Angie yesterday, and I'll type out to Lisa today and see if maybe we can get her. She probably has been a bit overwhelmed,
I would say,
recently. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just any deviation, frankly, from all the sexual stuff being discussed. And it's just, I'm tired of it, I guess.
Well, I got to make a living, Barb. So you bad mouthing the topics isn't getting me anywhere. So I've got to get going here.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Barb. All right, Barb's tired of talking. Let's go to Liberty Linda with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Yes, good morning. Is this consistent, Kevin? I only want to speak to consistent, Kevin.
Sure. After that last call from Barb, I don't know who I am, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about, President Trump is doing such a great job trying to give our country back to the people, as it was intended in the first place. If they were able to take down President Trump, then we know that they would just turn on Mike Pence and try to take out our vice president as well until they have complete control again. So anyway, that's what I'm worried about, and I don't understand why the people don't see right through this. I mean, you see through it, Kevin, right?
Sure.
Anyway, so that's one point I wanted to make this morning.
Well, no, I go back to this issue, though, where you have people that are, and for people that are just tuning in, let's just listen to this one more time.
Okay.
He's brought us to the brink of nuclear war, obstructed justice at the FBI, and in direct violation of the Constitution, he's taken money from foreign governments and threatened to shut down news organizations that report the truth. If that isn't a case for impeaching and removing a dangerous president, then what has our government become? I'm Tom Steyer, and like you, I'm a citizen who knows it's up to us to do something. It's why I'm funding this effort to raise our voices together and demand that elected officials take a stand on impeachment. A Republican Congress once impeached a president for far less. Yet today, people in Congress and his own administration know that this president is a clear and present danger, who's mentally unstable and armed with nuclear weapons. And they do nothing. Join us and tell your member of Congress that they have a moral responsibility to stop doing what's political and start doing what's right. Our country depends on it.
So we have that from Need to Impeach. Your thoughts?
Well, President Trump isn't bringing us to the point of nuclear war. That guy, in North Korea is, Kim. And President Trump is just trying to protect us here. I mean, what he said just now was just totally ludicrous. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It echoes what the media has been saying because, well, Trump got little Kim, little Rocket Man mad, and he shouldn't be able to speak about that.
Well, unfortunately, I even know someone that listens to the media and believes everything they say. And, it's so frustrating because you need to see right through it to truth. President Trump is actually fighting to do everything good for this nation. He's running up against walls everywhere he turns. And you and I can see that. And so we want the best for this country. That's all I want. I love freedom. I love the country that I was born in, and I want to keep that country. And I believe that our president is doing that and trying to keep that for us.
Well, they're out to get him.
I know. We need to have all those that are clear-minded to call in and to speak up and to let their voice be heard as well, so that those who listen to the media, perhaps they will be able to hear truth as well. So anyway, and this morning when you had Dr. Ahlquist on, I have to say that the Spirit was upon me so strongly as he spoke. I'll be his cheerleader. I believe what he says is truth. And anyway, I just like the sound of Governor Ahlquist. I think it has a nice sound to it. And anyway, so I'll be his cheerleader.
I see. Well, we'll see how that plays out. It was nice of him to join us so early.
I know. He got in very early this morning. I guess he's a man that starts out early.
You know, it's a place, the place for politics. We had the congressman on. We had the doctor on. We'll work on getting the lieutenant governor on. And, you know, we've had a lot of politicians come on this week. I
know. And then we even had Tanya J. Powers, you know, our rodeo queen.
Yeah, I don't know about her. She might be on the bubble.
Well, and you know, I don't really see her and Liberal Steve together either.
I'm sure her husband and Liberal Steve's wife don't see them together either.
I disagree with that as well.
Anyway.
Well, anyway, you wish them both well.
Liberty Linda, you take care.
You as well, and hopefully I'll be there tonight.
If you will be, you'll see me there. You can't miss me.
Okay, all right. I'll wave.
I'll give you a hug.
Okay. I'll hold you to that.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
You too. All right. Our great friend, Liberty Linda. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Back to the phones we go, and let's go to Tess with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tess.
Hi, good morning. Oh, hey. You know, I just love your to come into town, and I had a chance to go out to the airport yesterday, and actually, as I chewed over everything in my head, I just want to say thanks to Boise PD. There was a very bizarre individual out at the airport who kind of made a mistake of taking a photograph of my grandson while I was there. And like a frog jumping on a bug, you know, we had to deal with it really quickly. But, you know, after the incident, the law enforcement people were great, but I had a lot of people that came up to me and said, you know, I wish I had done something. I wish I had said something. You know, because the circumstances were so strange with this individual, and they had been photographing other people there and doing other things. And I think about it with all these issues with predators, you know, are people double-minded? Are they deer in the headlight? You know, is their moral compass confused? You have to just think about it these days because people walk and talk different things, you know. They're confused. They're confused. But, hey, anyway, so we dealt with it. And, you know, thanks to Boise PD again. Appreciate you guys and appreciate your help. So, anyway, that's my story.
Well, I'm glad you're okay, Tess. You take care.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. And the man who has single-handedly called for the impeachment of just about everybody, pro-life, joins us now with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio.
Yeah, you're right. Impeachment is a big issue, and any federal judge that takes a case outside of his jurisdiction, so if a federal judge takes a case that should be only in state courts, he needs to be brought up for impeachment. They never talk about that. And so, you know, they think impeachment is something that will never happen. And it ought to happen all the time. But anyway, what I want to say is our whole society, for many decades now, we've turned sex into recreation. And it's totally against God's will, God's law, family, eternal justice, everything. And so once you turn sex into recreation, then you say you can kill the baby, you know, if it doesn't agree with your
I'll see you tonight,
desire.
Pro-Life.
All right.
Ram Mai, thank you. Good day. God bless and keep the faith.